gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Call my name. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Hope you're having a great night. Thank you so much for joining me and joining us here on the show. I'm waiting for Mr. Longbeard. He is connecting remotely tonight. So I'm just checking to see. Are you there?
I'm here. Are you there?
I'm here. Are you not?
Right.
Are you not on camera tonight?
Oh no, I must have. Hold on. That one. There we go.
Well, I can get you on screen now since you're here. There you go. You're now part of the show in all your joy and vigor. But welcome to the show. How you doing, by the way?
Doing good. It's been another long day. Sorry I wasn't able to make it in.
That's all right.
But here we are.
Here we are. We can still make it work thanks to the miracle of modern technology. Looks like your camera's froze, but it's a nice pose anyway, so I guess we'll go with it.
I'm fine over here, but let me try this again. Do and do.
Okay.
There, how's that?
I don't know yet. Let's see. Oh, you're moving. It's live and in color. Good. All right.
There it is.
I guess we are live and at it. Welcome, everybody, to the Paranormal Portal. We are here to keep you entertained. At least that's Don's job. I'm just here to monitor.
I'm in trouble.
You're in trouble? Nah, you're entertaining, Don. It's always entertaining to have you on the show. And I'm glad you're here. Sorry things have been hectic for you today, but I'm glad you were able to join us. It just wouldn't be a Saturday without you. So
That's so sweet of you to say.
Well, I'm a sweet guy, as it turns out. I'm kind of that way. So we're going to do a whole fun-filled grab bag of paranormal goodness tonight. There's not really any specific direction, although we're probably going to hit pretty heavily on the cryptids. I've got a bunch of that stuff pulled up tonight as well. But there was some kind of neat stuff that I wanted to go over tonight that I found, and this I think is kind of interesting. This is coming from strangerdimensions.com. I'm going to put it on screen, Don, because there are a couple pictures in here. So I'm going to cover up your face. But
yeah, that's
just know.
Nothing new.
It's the one time I can get away with it. No, just know this isn't a personal attack. It's just because I want it to, display any images, of course, to make our show that much more fun. But it's...
Man.
It says Vortex Hunters charting portals across the globe. And I'm not really sure what this means. I just found it. It was posted by Paranormal Science Lab, Lisa Martin's site on Facebook. So I was like, oh, I got to check this out. This would be a fun one to read, maybe. But the nice thing is not only are they charting portals, but allegedly they're actually making a map of them too. And the map is actually here on screen. Those of you out there will be looking at that now. But it looks like there's a bunch. It looks like there's a lot in America. I guess nowhere else has portals like we have portals. Do I sound like a president?
Yes. By golly, nobody's better than us at anything that we can do, but we can get portals too.
And
well, the the best portal is the paranormal portal. So
That's
what can
right.
you say?
That's my favorite. But it says if you're looking for a quick getaway, you might find vortex hunters to be just the thing you need. It's an interactive map of various alleged vortices and portals said to exist around the world. Clicking on an individual point takes you to a page describing the vortex location. They're separated by vortex type, energy, paranormal, triangular, etc. And also included are so-called mystery spots, UFO hotspots in ancient sites thought to contain supernatural energies. So that's pretty cool. You can go check out those. Here's the map that's showing them again on your screen. It looks like they haven't gotten to the whole globe yet, but they must be centered around the U.S. because that's where they've been busiest. It says some highlights include Ireland's Hill of Tara, which some claim is home to high Earth energy fields, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, and the Devil's Tramping Ground, Vortex in Bear Creek, North Carolina, where objects are known to vanish if left in an area's mysterious rings overnight. Wow, I never even heard of that place. Devil's Tramping Ground, Vortex in Bear Creek, North Carolina. We'll have to ask Deb about that. I'm just not familiar with that at all. It says where objects are known to vanish if left in the area's mysterious ring overnight. Probably a good place to bring your recycles. We'll let those guys deal with it, whoever gets this stuff. Also on the map are Ivan Sanderson's Vile Vortices and Thompson Park Vortex in Watertown, New York. It's good to know we have a lot of options. Well, that's interesting, and I don't know. It's not really clear. I guess there is a link here I could click, but it's not really clear. What are they doing with this information, or what do they propose? You just go and check stuff out? Are they studying them? Are there... I guess if they're paranormal, you could probably bet that there's going to be some ghostly stuff. And looking at this map, it does look like they really do have these little icons, like a little... Oh, I went the wrong way. I thought... Oh, no, I was going the right way. Hold on. But there's little ghosts, as you can see. There are... what the hell? Where's the key? I don't know what I'm looking at here. Oh, here it is. Energy vortexes are the red rings. Paranormal vortexes are the ghosts. I figured as much. Mystery spots, ghost light magnetic hill, as question marks. And there's one in Arkansas, one in the Nashville area, and in Pennsylvania, which must be around Merkel's house. No, I'm just kidding. We love Tony, of course, but there is one in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. These mystery spots, as it were. There's one over in California. And I lit incense, but the damn smoke is going right to my face. Gotta put it down. There we go. That should be better, I hope. But it's going like right in my right eye, so it's like making my eye tear up. But what are the other ones here? There's a UFO hotspots. Of course, Area 51 is labeled. And then, and then Roswell, of course, which is labeled. I don't see any other UFO ones, which I find pretty wild because, of course, Gulf Breeze has a ton of sightings down there in Florida. And, there are just so many hot spots in the U.S. alone for these. Oh, there's one in Colorado. What is this? The UFO Watchtower. Well, I don't know. Are they claiming these are portals or vortices? There is one down in Mexico City as well, but that stands to reason with the ruins down there. I'm not being creepy about that. I mean, I love it.
It kind of makes sense that there's one in Mexico City because that place, people disappear all the time from that place, and it's literally true. But unfortunately, I really don't think it has anything to do with paranormal or supernatural or anything like that.
Right. I'm curious, how do they measure these? How do they figure out if it's just an energy vortex or if it's unknown or if it's ancient site, I guess makes sense. But there's triangle vortex. There's medicine wheel stone circles that are highlighted. That'd be cool. I'd love to check out some of those. And then there's these purple ones are called chakra. Now, I don't know what the hell does that mean, because chakras, of course, are the energy vortices in us. There's 7 major energy centers going from the crown down to your crotch that correlate to energy flow points or whatever, just to paraphrase it quickly. But I'm not seeing where the hell I don't. Well, it's hard to get a real good read on this in just a couple minutes here, but I think this is pretty interesting. I think it would be fun. It looks like the closest ones to us are Mount Adams in Washington and the Mary Hill, Washington Stonehenge. I've never even heard of that. Have you, Don?
No, I don't have any idea where that is. Mary Hill?
Yeah, Mary Hill, Washington Stonehenge. I don't know if I click on it, does it? Well, I can try clicking on it here. Let's see if we can find something. It says Mary Hill, Washington Stonehenge vortex. It's on screen now. It looks like somebody made a Stonehenge there. It's not an ancient dolmens or whatever. So it says this vortex was recommended on 4/22/16 by Anonymous. The Mary Hill, Washington Stonehenge is built on a natural vortex. It's an old Indian burial ground. Mary Hill is named after the wife and daughter of regional icon Sam Hill, who purchased land and envisioned a community where shortly after the turn of the 20th century, Hill used his Mary Hill property to build the first paved roads in the Pacific Northwest. The Mary Hill Museum of Art, originally intended as a grand residence for the Hills, Mary Hill Stonehenge, a monument to the World War I dead of Kickatat County, in the form of a Stonehenge replica, and a planned community. Born a Quaker, Hill hoped to attract a Quaker community to eastern Washington, and his plans never materialized, and the town buildings he constructed burned down several years later. Oh, that's tragic. Hill intended the Stonehenge replica to express that modern warfare, like Druid sacrifice, as he understood them, was a form of needless human sacrifice. Huh. Well, there you go. I guess it is quite old, being as it's, from around World War I, which would put it in the 20s, right?
Oh, no.
1920s.
Let's see. Surveyed, dramatic spot, windswept. I see something about 1918.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that would be World War I, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was right after the beginning of the 20th century. So, yeah. Wow. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you're looking for a vortex or a portal to bring the kids this summer, then check this out. It looks like this is, again, vortexhunters.com. So there you have it. I don't know anything more about it, but I thought that was kind of an interesting article and fun to talk about. What do you think of that, Don?
I think I've never even heard of it, although I'm from Washington, and I can't believe I haven't heard of this place. But it's interesting that it's a vortex. Now, you said it was, the story said it was built on a Native American or a First Nations burial ground?
Yes, that's what it did say. I did close it now, so I can't reference it anymore, but I was just speaking of what do you think of the whole idea of going and checking out portals and vortices.
Yeah, definitely. We should put that on our bucket list.
Yeah, I wonder how far Mary Hill is from us.
Not far, actually. Probably about 6 hours.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be looking at putting together a field trip for the Paranormal Portal. Don and I are maybe going to be going to the Mary Hill Vortex and check it out. And the old Stonehenge. I think that'd be really cool. Let's try to do that this summer, dude. Because
we do what we do.
A lot of our other plans have fallen through with all those conferences getting canceled and things that we were, shooting for. And, it looks like our dance card is kind of open.
That it does. That it does, unfortunately. Oh, which reminds me, I should probably cancel my reservations in Kennewick, Washington, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, we should.
Dang it.
Unless you still want to head over there and enjoy the scenery of Kennewick, Washington, which, I don't know, is there scenery in Kennewick, Washington?
I'd rather gouge my eyes out with a spoon. Washington.
All right.
For no reason.
Well, I got an interesting cryptid article here, dude, and let me look at it first. So this is about as cryptid as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about Bigfoot. It's not about Dogman. It's not about, look at that, I'm closing Don's face. There he is. There he is. This is kind of fun, dragging stuff over your face, Don. No offense. But it is a mysterious giant was spotted in the mountains of Mexico. And allegedly, there's a photo here, ladies and gentlemen, and this is coming from Animalian.com. Mysterious giant was spotted in the mountains of Mexico. And it says, citizens of a town in Mexico are on the verge of the discovery of a mysterious giant that some believe may have been either a Bigfoot or an alien. Well, if that's a picture of it, that's all kinds of way bigger than a Bigfoot as far as I understand them. The significant event allegedly occurred last week. When was this written? This is March 27th of 2020. Okay, last week on a communal piece of farmland near the town of Ciudad, I don't know how to pronounce that, Valles or Yahweh's, or I don't know, Valles. My pronunciation is not going to be on for that. So that's the town. And an eyewitness to the strangeness, known only as Mrs. Antonia, said the sighting was about at 5:30 in the afternoon. I was with my husband playing with our child when we heard a boom, like an explosion. And then we looked toward the hillside from where we thought the sound originated, and we thought it was a landslide, said Mrs. Antonia, who could not believe what her eyes were seeing, a tall, thin man like a giant. The time was around 5:30 in the afternoon. I was very frightened. My husband mocked me, but when he saw the thing, he got scared and said we should get into the house, even though we were far away. The woman who claims having seen something strange, a large being, immense looking like a giant, Antonia's story matches the testimony given by other residents. She was able to take a few photos of the beast, and that's what you're seeing allegedly here, which does look peculiar, but is difficult to discern precisely what is perched on the top of the hill. Since the mountains are far away, I had to zoom in to make the creature visible. The incident caused fear and confusion among the inhabitants of the indigenous Tenec area, frightened at the prospect of a giant in the mountains. In consideration of the amount of interest produced, an investigation into the matter has been requested. According to the statement given by Augustin Hernandez, a representative of the indigenous nation, there has been a lot of talk about the enormous figure on the heights of the mountain range. Now, you know what occurred to me, Don?
What's that?
The boom. Was that a portal of some kind?
Huh.
I don't know, I mean, they hear this sound, they look over, and here's this enormous thing on top of the mountain over there. Obviously, it's unless that's the sound it makes when it lands because it jumped from the sky. I don't know, but I'm just kidding there. but could that be the sound of something this size coming in? Any thoughts?
Pardon me.
Oh,
sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was choking to death.
Oh.
I got better.
All right, good.
That's interesting. Yeah, maybe a portal popped open, and it's funny you just happened to be talking about portals and vortexes before the story. And it makes you wonder though, because we've postulated about Bigfoot being interdimensional or whatnot.
Sure.
So why not? I mean, what would put this beyond thinking that boom was like a portal opening and closing,
right,
and this thing pops in? Did they say how big this was? I don't remember.
They didn't really say. And of course, there's no scale to know how big is anything around it. I don't even know. So they just said it was about the size of a giant or a large Bigfoot. Well, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at because it's so fuzzy, but it does look like there's something almost like in an orangutan kind of pose or a chimpanzee pose it looks like the front appendages are on the ground, and it's got the sloping back like a gorilla and the shorter back legs. I'm assuming this part in the top is the head, but I mean, we just can't tell anything. So there's no idea what we're looking at here, and there's no context for it. But just from the story, you've got to take a lot on faith that this is at all accurate. Hell, we could be looking at, somebody's, construction going up or something for all we know, but they're claiming this is an actual photograph of a giant.
Yeah, somebody's old swing set or something coming down.
Right. Yeah, I mean, really, and this could be. It's obviously a potato camera picture, like so there's no quality whatsoever, and there's no even discerning what the hell else is around it. Is this a snow cap on the mountain right by the skyline, horizon line? Or is that, a tarp, sitting on the edge of a sandbox? We don't know. But I just out of the assumption, the big boom is to me the interesting part. Oh, well, the big giant is interesting as well. But if they weren't ever seeing a giant and suddenly they heard a boom and there's a giant, that sounds like how it came in.
Right.
I don't know. It's all speculation. There's no way to know, of course. But interesting nonetheless. And again, this was from Mexico. There's no follow-ups, so an investigation was requested, but obviously one hasn't happened, or at least has not been released to us general publics. So, sorry, can't give anybody more information than that. What do you think, Don?
Oh, I thought it just went quiet there for a minute, and I thought I disconnected or something.
No.
There's this is the typical shaky camera, blurry photo, kind of thing that we always, people always accuse people with, pictures of Bigfoot with. At least it's not a blob squatch. We can tell it's not a blob squatch. So,
well, yeah.
Anything's possible. I mean, you've got to, I have an open mind. I will say maybe it could be, and that boom could be possibly I like the idea of the portaling in. I like that idea, but then again, a lot of these things are dependent on real evidence, and real evidence is hard to get.
Yes, it is. I don't know which one I'm going to read here. There's two other ones that are on the same site that look pretty interesting. One is apparently a ghost photo, and I think we'll look at this one because obviously we do a lot of ghost stuff on the Paranormal Portal, and this is apparently an image that was captured of a ghost. It has a link to it. Let me just open that in a new tab. Oh, okay, so we can look at the image after I read this. It says, Yorkshire resident captured the ghost of a Victorian girl. The young butcher, Mark Whitaker, and his girlfriend visited Skipton Castle. They, as usual, scattered around the territory, and Mark was left alone in the small courtyard of the castle. Out of habit, he clicked the camera and did not even realize that a real ghost of the Victorian era was wandering next to him. On the way back, he posted on the social media network, network of the first photo he came across, and only then saw what was shown on it. When I saw this photo, goosebumps ran down my back, says Mark Whitaker, and there, of course, is the image. It looks incredibly manifest if that is indeed a ghost image. There is some motion blur to it. Now, we don't know if there's people running around in period dress at this place or not. But anyway, it says in the photo, he saw a little girl of 7 to 10 years old in a dress and an old-fashioned hat. But many began to accuse Mark of using Photoshop. I'm an ordinary butcher from a shop around the corner. I didn't know how to use this program at all, said Mark. Many paranormal investigators, and psychics believe that when the cause of death is this sudden, the spirit of the deceased is trapped between life and death. This can be the case for this little girl. Well, there's a lot that we don't know, obviously. We don't know if that's part of their touristy thing, having people in period dress appear there. We don't know. Were they alone? He said his wife wasn't there, but was there other people at the castle as well? I don't know. If it is indeed a valid picture, in these kind of photos, they don't happen often. And what I find really intriguing is the it almost looks like there's a dirtiness to the hem of the dress on the bottom. Like it looks like it has been dragging. And I wouldn't expect that on an actual ghost photo, but I don't know. I mean, I don't usually expect actual ghost photos. Not that they don't happen, but to catch an apparition this manifest is incredibly rare. Let me open this. Yeah, that's just a smaller version, the same image. But I don't know. What do you think, Don?
Hello?
Hello?
I swear my headset's haunted.
Okay. What do you think of this ghost photo?
Well, I thought it was interesting that you brought up the idea of it, the period dress and it dragging on the ground. I mean, if I was, I hope that if I was dead and haunting somewhere, I would have enough class to at least look classy if I can. Clean clothes is important to me.
Sure.
But, it brings to mind Cinderella's castle or I'm not sure if it's called Cinderella's Castle, but the castle in Disneyland where you sit on the thing and you ride through and there's ghosts, there's pictures on the wall and things like that that change into ghosts. That's what this kind of stuff reminds me of, and it kind of makes me wonder what technology could be possibly used. Now, I'm not saying it's not true or it's not, good enough, but I always wonder about things like that. What kind of technology could be being used to create this other than a Photoshop, of course. So
it's hard to know, and digital editing programs are easier and easier to use. You don't need a college degree to use Photoshop anymore, and there's others out there that are pretty much point and click. So we're going to go to our first break already, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Don't go away. Got to do station break and ads. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Second half hour is now underway here on the Paranormal Portal, and I, for one, am absolutely thrilled because that means more time to talk with all of you all. And of course, Don's here with me, but not here. He's there. On Skype, he's joining me. So we're just doing the best kind of portal we know how to do, and thank you guys for being here with us. We're talking about all kinds of craziness in the paranormal. Lots of different topics tonight, but I kind of like these shows. I always do, because it keeps it all free and light and easy to talk about. Right, Don?
That is correct, Brent. Did I unmute my mic? Yes, I must have. Hi! Today is just one of those days. You know, I actually like kind of these grab bag shows because they just bring up all kinds of things to talk about. So
They do. The one thing I noticed that it's going to be, I'm going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage is I won't have you here to help me watch the call board. So I should let you guys know that the call board is open. If you want to call in and talk with us, you are welcome to do so. The call-in number is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Those are the numbers for fun right here on the Paranormal Portal. And if you got something paranormal you want to discuss, let us know. We'd like to talk with you. And so we're at it. We're at it again, Don.
Sweet.
I was looking. I'm trying to figure out where was it. I was pulling up a bunch of stuff. This one is an article from, now this one's going into kind of demonic possession. But I think, I don't like to talk about this stuff too much because, first of all, it's just really scary stuff. And I know it happens. I know people have dealt with this, but I also know that a lot of people overuse the word demon, that everything's demonic. And that's sensationalism. I don't buy that there's that much demonic activity out there. There's plenty. There's plenty. But I just wanted to check out this article, and it's from paranormaldailynews.com. And this is one that I just stumbled on too. Looks like a really cool site though. They got some really great articles in here and do a nice job. So if you like the paranormal, you might want to check out paranormaldailynews.com. And this one is talking about demonic possession and its thin gray line. Now, I've not pre-read this at all, so we're all in for a surprise here. I don't know if these people are, down to earth and reasoned with their approach, or if they're going to be sensational, if they're going to be flaky. I don't know. So let's see what they got to say, because either way, it'll give us stuff to talk about. So it starts out, over the last few years, there's been a dramatic upsurgence in claims of demonic possession. While some may have a valid issue that may not be explainable by medical science, there is a grave reaction to label all imbalances of the psyche or the emotions as spiritual issues such as demoniacal possession. They say demoniacal. This is the thin gray paranormal line that is tread by ignorance and fools. Well, I'm liking it so far. All too often, there will be medical professionals, religious practitioners, paranormal groups, and clergy that will be too quick to jump and label something as demonic or of an otherworldly influence. I don't think that medical would be correct there. It says all too often there will be medical professionals that are labeling this as demonic. I don't think so. And it says yoga is not demonic, Reiki is not demonic, healing is not demonic, bad moods are not demonic, depression is not demonic, mindfulness is not demonic, and so on. Neither do any of these cause demonic possession. That cause and effect lies squarely at the feet of man and his choice and the choices made. Psychology of demonic possession. It says, granted, there are many symptoms of demonic influence that mimic that of a medical problem, such as a psychological imbalance or, of course, a psychiatric issue. However, there are many clear distinctions which separate the preternatural from the natural one. An emotional issue of anger, depression, and violent outbursts do not necessarily mean one is possessed, and there is a need for a paranormal investigation team or priest. A cold spot that chills you to the bone may have another plausible explanations, as does some other issues, such as seeing visions or of course, hearing a voice. These are all valid issues within the medical profession that do have a psychological basis for explanation. Many people who are more spiritually minded will often look for an excuse of behavior in order to blame a preternatural force. Dr. Graham C.L. Davy, PhD, alludes to this on his article featured in Psychology Today. Wow. In this regard, many spiritualists, even medical professionals, and of course clergy, are those who believe in something more sinister or preternatural. They will shout claims of demonic influence or spirit obsession. However, we've gotten away from the real clear division of phenomena versus another form of pareidolia. Spirit obsession. Spirit obsession can, of course, be the influence of one or more spirit entities. However, this is not demonic. It is not an archetypal demon of a higher order. Spirits can and do influence our lives, especially of a weaker disposition. This is not an excuse for bad behavior or emotional imbalance brought on by external trauma. We must not mix the two and instantly use excuses of evil influence. I like this article. I like it so far. What do you think, Don? Sound good?
I think all too often, as it was already stated, that a lot of people do point straight to demons and things like that. But, that was before Freud's time, So we're talking like the 30s, 40s, 50s when Freud was really developing his ideas. The idea that everything was demonic went away then. So yeah, I like this. It's explaining it. It's like we know that there are certain things in our lives, certain people who have chemical imbalances, or they just have an issue that creates some kind of issue for them, and therefore they act out or don't act what we believe is appropriately. And in some cases, psychotically and psychopathically. So yeah, just, and we've said it a million times, just because it looks demonic doesn't mean it's a demonic possession. So yeah, I'm liking it.
Yeah, I think that the problem is that since everything's being called demonic now, people don't really have a clear distinctive or understanding of what demonic means. And you probably don't ever want to, but let's continue with this article. It says, consequently, many mental illnesses do have some roots in spiritual imbalance, and that issue should not be overlooked when looking at mental illness that may have entered someone's life, or there are many cases where spiritual help has indeed negated the need for medical intervention. Again, this is not a demonic problem. And the next heading is, there's a clear division from demon possession or oppression and psychological imbalance. If someone is levitating with no possible scientific explanation, perhaps they are changing in appearance and shouting blasphemy, all whilst physical manifestations are going on around you, emanating putrid smells or body fluids and excrement, and not to mention that feeling of foreboding and evil that is projected to the sensitive or even non-sensitive individual. There would also be external manifestations or phenomena that would be out with the victim externally. These would be experienced in the immediate environment, and perhaps even phenomena that is directed in a highly intelligent and deliberate way. Then, of course, one must then begin to look at possible paranormal or imbalanced spiritual causation as a point of serious inquiry. It says the need for discernment on both sides of the coin. It says one cannot be successful without the other. One cog won't turn on its own, and there has to be a relationship between something as equal in makeup and force. Both these aspects working in unison bring about the successful movement of the cog that may then have a positive effect on the other. It's time then that professionals such as the scientific, medical, and spiritual community work together. Each has their own level of discernment. Whilst one aspect may work in the material plane, It's evident that there is a great gap with the non-physical plane of existence, and this is where perhaps the use of real mediums or those with power of spiritual discernment should be used as a bridge between the psychical, or no, physical. Sorry, this font is horrible. It's a little tiny black font on white, so it's like overpowering my eyes. Non-physical and religious. Making false claims opens the box. There are two clear dangers that one can look at as a possibility. The first is making a false diagnosis of demonic influence or possession, and that must be taken seriously. The second is to consider how much suffering it would cause to the inflicted. This could be an individual or a family, and diagnosing something as demoniacal may cause more anxiety and suffering. On the other side of the coin, you have to consider the real danger of becoming a catalyst for real infestation. You have now become one of the causing factors, and you will now have to pay the price by either by directly being in the line of danger or, of course, allowing Mother Karma to pay you a visit. Ba-da-bum. And here's the reality. This is the last section. Demonic possession is real. Spiritual obsession is real. But so is psychological imbalances, mental illness, and, of course, forms of psychosis. It's therefore important that medical professionals begin to look towards working with professionals that are highly experienced in the spiritual field. Also working with real professional paranormal investigators that consider all avenues of the preternatural as the natural. It is a far too dangerous field that should not be frequented by less experienced ego-driven individuals and groups that can leave a trail of destruction in their wake, making the thin gray line of demoniacal possession a reality. Yeah, I like that article. That's good. I like that it's not dismissive of one or the other. It's not saying there's only this and not that, which is usually that's the gray line, is the existence or non-existence. And I like that that was written with an objective idea that this is a real phenomena, because there are many people that have suffered from that. There is an uptick in the amount of exorcisms being conducted now. Some people take that as a foreboding of terrible global events coming or not. I don't know, but I think this is a real phenomena. People need to be informed, but having a bunch of yahoos running around going, that's demonic, that's demonic, that's demonic, that's not good. That's not good at all.
I like the idea that they were talking about getting these professionals from these other fields together and, actually, doing scientific, metaphysical, investigation together, and to find out if there's a causation either from the the biological side or the metaphysical side, or whatever it may be, and then go with it that way. It's a great idea to bring the different disciplines together, science, metaphysical, whatever, and of course mental health and physical health as well. So it's a really interesting idea that that it could answer a lot of questions. However, you're always going to have those doctors and psychiatrists in the more professional fields always I feel always naysaying, no, it's all chemical imbalance, it's not demonic, it's not supernatural, it's just all chemical balance and problems with the body. So you got to get them away from that rigid line to get it done.
I agree. Looking at this next article, I know we only got a few minutes before the break here, so let's see, when is it? It doesn't seem possible, but we got 11 minutes, Don. Can you believe that?
No, not at all. It's gone quick.
Well, this one is it's from the Washington Post of all places, but it's got an interesting title, so I'm going to read it. It's, "At the end of her life, my mother started seeing ghosts, and it freaked me out. Last summer, 6 months before my mother died, I walked into her bedroom, and she greeted me with a tinny hello and a big smile. And then she resumed a conversation with her mother, who had died in 1973. "Where are you?" Mom asked, as though Grandma, one-time Fifth Avenue milliner, or is it milliner or millionaire? I don't know, was on one of her many European hat-buying junkets. As I stood there dumbstruck, Mom continued chatting, in a young girl's voice no less, for several more minutes. Was this a reaction to medication? A sign of the advancing dementia? Or was she preparing to transition to whatever she was going next? Regardless, Mom was freaking me out, as well as my brother, sister, and father. As it turned out, my mother's chat with a ghost was a signal that the end was inching closer. Those who work with the terminally ill, such as social workers and hospice givers, call these episodes or visions a manifestation of what is called nearing death awareness. They are very common among dying patients in hospice situations. Rebecca Valla, a psychiatrist in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, who specializes in treating terminally ill patients, wrote in an email, "Those who are dying and seem to be in and out of this world and the next one often find their deceased loved ones present, and they communicate with them. In many cases, the predeceased loved ones seem to the dying person to be aiding them in their transition to the next world. While family members are often clueless about this phenomenon, at least at the outset, a small 2014 study of hospice patients concluded that most participants reported such visions, and that these people approaching death, comforting dreams, visions of the deceased became more prevalent. Jim May, a licensed clinical social worker in Durham, North Carolina, said that family members and patients themselves are frequently surprised by these deathbed visitors, often asking him to help them understand what's happening. "I really try to encourage people, whether it's a near-death experience or a hallucination, to just go with the flow," May explained after I told him about my mom's visitations. "Whatever they are experiencing is real to them." Vela agreed, telling me what not to do. Don't minimize, dismiss, or worse, pathologize these accounts, which is harmful and can be traumatic to the dying person. In fact, May said, most patients find the conversations to be comforting. That certainly appeared to be the case with my mom, who was happy had happy exchanges with several good friends who, like my grandmother, were no longer living. In a moving 2015 TED Talk, Christopher Kerr, a chief medical officer at the Center for Hospice and Palliative Care in Buffalo, showed a clip of one of his terminally ill patients discussing her deathbed visions, which included her saying, "My mom and dad, my uncle, and everybody I knew that was dead was there by my side. I remember seeing every piece of their face. She was lucid and present." Since Mom had already been diagnosed with advancing dementia, I originally thought her talks were a sign of worsening illness. In fact, current research posts that a combination of physiological and pharmacological and psychological explanations may be at play. And that's exactly what May's hands-on experience of more than 14 years revealed to him. May acknowledge that it's understandably hard to have empirical evidence for such episodes in patients, but that it's important for family members and health professionals to figure out how to respond. Last fall, another visit to Mom raised the stakes. As before, she greeted me by name and spoke coherently for several minutes before she turned to the bookcase near her bed and began cooing to an imagined baby. I watched in astonishment as Mom gitchy gooed an apparition she referred to as her baby. "My baby's very sick," she repeated, clearly deeply concerned about this apparition. "She's very thirsty and she's hungry. She's crying. Can't you do anything for her?" I didn't know what to do. Neither did my siblings or Dad. I had long stopped correcting Mom, and a year earlier, Mom had regaled me with the story that my niece Anna had made a delicious dinner the night before and was at that very moment out doing errands. In fact, Anna was away at college also. I've never seen her cook, and she doesn't even have a driver's license. But why contradict Mom's visions of a perfect granddaughter? Social worker May, when asked about these sorts of imaginings, put it this way: don't argue, because an argument is not what they need. I decided to go along with the baby story and told Mom I was going to take the baby to the kitchen to bottle feed her, which alleviated the crisis. As the full days grew shorter, Mom's baby was continuing presence at my visits, with my mother becoming increasingly distressed. I would settle things down by giving the imagined infant an imaginary bottle or cradle her in my arms and leave the room for a while, saying I was taking her to the doctor. At one point I asked gently, Mom, do you think the baby is you? She didn't miss a beat. Yes, she replied, the baby is hurting. In fact, the largest study to date on deathbed visions reported on numerous cases where when the arrival of a visitor appeared to arouse anxiety and intensify death fear. But what to do? I hated that Mom's level of distress was skyrocketing. In what turned out to be her final weeks, I simply held Mom's hands a bit tighter and tried to distract her as best as I could with family and political news, and I cooked, which she loved my doing. One evening, I made a simple dinner spaghetti with store-bought marinara sauce and bright green leafy salad, and Mom had pretty much stopped eating by this point, which is common at the end draws near, but she made a show of trying her best with this repast for the two of us, plus my father, and it was heartwarming to watch her try to spear the pasta, but she managed several hearty mouthfuls, saving room for a scoop of saltest vanilla ice cream. After dinner, I helped her back to bed, which she exclaimed, How did you know? How did I know what? I asked. That was exactly how I wanted my funeral to be. You invited all my favorite people, and the food was just what I would have ordered. She was beaming. 6 weeks later, she passed, and pasta and salad were on the menu at her service. Wow. That's powerful. And it's not making a claim that it's real or not real, but the point is that it's real to them.
Right.
That's very powerful. Let me look at the clock here, and we're down to 4 minutes. I did it. I read that a little bit quick, but I think those things I really hope that those things are real, you know? I really hope that people that are passing are being, talked to and comforted by the people that preceded them.
Right. Yeah. It's a whole lot better than going down just some, lighted hallway to a destination unknown, or even, the dark tunnel to wherever that may go. The idea of having the passing death experience, the whole, my life flashed before my eyes kind of thing, and emergencies and things like that. Mm-hmm. But having someone, some ancestor, your mom, your dad, your grandparents, whoever may have passed on, those are always comforting thoughts. And certainly, we hope that, when people do pass, they pass in comfort.
So. Yes, absolutely. We sure do. And speaking of comforts, I hope you all are comfortable, because we're going to be closing out hour number 1 and going into hour number 2. And I'd like to let you know, after the Paranormal Portal, of course, Paisley Wild will be taking over on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, as well as streaming live on her YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/thespacesbetween. And her show will be up next. That's 2 full hours of fantastic dialogue and intrigue, and her journey into the pagan arts. So it's wonderful, and she does a great job. She's a dear friend of ours. So if you haven't checked out her show, please do. She does a wonderful job. Wouldn't you say, Don?
She does. Absolutely.
And thumbs up from Mr. Longbeard there. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, check out the Paranormal Portal podcast, if you would, please. We are always releasing new episodes every Sunday, and every once in a while a bonus episode during the week. But every Sunday, depends on when I actually get to it, but it'll come out sometime on Sunday. I'm trying to gear it towards like a noon release, but I haven't quite gotten that nailed yet. But tomorrow we'll have another one out there. So I hope you guys will check that out and help support that. And please, if you would, spread the word about the Paranormal Portal podcast to people that you know that love the paranormal, as well as the YouTube channel here. And a special thank you to everybody who's here tuning in. We are just meeting all kinds of new friendly faces. So thank you all for coming to find us. I see one in the chat, BCM the Purchaser. That's a pretty cool name. All right. Well,
hey,
Yeah.
Hey, Brent, guess who's here tonight?
Who's here tonight?
Hacker.
Is he really?
Aww. Yeah, he's been in the show tonight. Him and Diana.
Oh, wonderful. It's great to see you, brother. Good to see you back again. We've missed you, but welcome, and hope you're enjoying the show. But let's see the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube, spread the word, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio, and on Twitter at Paranormal Portal, PORTL. We're going to be heading into hour number 2 in just a couple of seconds here. So we're going to take a quick station break with the commercials. Those of you on YouTube will enjoy another one of my compilations of videos and music. So if you like the music, check the description of the show because you can find more of it. All right, guys, we'll be right back. Hour number 2 coming up. Don't go away.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking gas. Taking another slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
A nightmare from which they cannot wake. I can see you, Mommy! Where are you? I've never said Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 is now upon us. I hope you're ready for another fun-filled hour of paranormal fun, goodness, excitement, intrigue, and, of course, some cryptids. Got some cryptids on the menu tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I know that, honestly, some of our biggest shows have always been the cryptid shows. And usually Bigfoot, Dogman, anything of the nature. We've got some incredibly ravenous fans for the cryptid stuff. And I don't blame you. I think that I find it all really interesting. I really do. But there's something really intriguing about these giant things running around in the woodlands and some of the smaller things, too. There's all shapes and sizes are allegedly out there, and it's plenty creepy. I think it's plenty creepy. But we're going to talk about some Bigfoot stuff right now, as a matter of fact. Is that okay with you, Don?
Yeah, it sounds great with me.
Okay, because I'm just doing a survey. The first thing is this is an article coming from mentalfloss.com, and it's the Canadian village where Sasquatches are said to roam. And I just found this. God, man, my eyes are watering. Got too smoky in here. Woo. Not, just because of incense. Not anything funny. Not doing anything funny over here. But it said it's a, what?
Didn't need to know.
Well, I'm just, putting it out there. It's a family show, of course. So it was a beautiful, calm evening in early summer of 2001 when Doug Niesloss and 4 companions pulled their boat up to a sandy beach in Kitsawa Bay, an ancient site where members of the Kitasu Jaijaz First Nation have been harvesting herring and halibut for thousands of years. The bay lay on the ocean side of Swindle Island, opposite Klemtu, a village on British Columbia's pine-forested Inside Passage, and they got a big driftwood bonfire going, a warm light against the blackness of the forest and the sky, where the Milky Way glittered like a dusting of powdered sugar. That's pretty good symbology there. As they told stories and laughed around the fire, Niesloss noticed something. Half of a face, partly hidden behind a large tree, up the beach, illuminated by the flickering light. He stared at it, trying to understand just what he was looking at. His younger brother stopped talking to him and followed Niesloss's gaze, and the others turned and looked too, toward the figure that now appeared to be crouching in the tree line. Locking eyes with them, and at that moment, the Sasquatch stood up. It was huge, at least 7 feet tall. The footprints were about 15 inches long, Niesloss remembers. The creature slowly backed into the forest, out of the firelight, and disappeared. Niesloss, who is Canada's first licensed indigenous bear guide, and is now the Kitasu Zyaz's elected chief counselor and resource stewardship director, has had other encounters with Sasquatches. The first one, though, stands out. I've had humpback whales come right up under my kayak, he tells Mental Floss, but this was the scariest moment of my life. For more than half a century, Klemtu, population of 350, has been known to outsiders as a reliable locale for seeing Sasquatch. To the Kitasu Zizis, the hairy human-like creatures have always been there, living in the dense forests and remote areas across the nation's traditional territory. They're a part of the community and a part of the stories the Kitasu Zaza's elders tell to impart their traditions and history, to pass on knowledge to younger generations, and to share with the larger community. Some stories are meant to teach lessons about respecting elders, ancestors, and the environment, but some recount actual events that have become ingrained in the culture over decades or centuries. Most of the Sasquatch encounters fall into that category. In small Gayaks, I don't know, the Kitasu language, the creatures are called pukwis or bagwis, words that also describe their ape-like appearance. Elders warn against going to certain places called the Wilu Bukwis, where there are Sasquatches, is what that translates to. Many people know the stories, even if they don't talk about them much. They were seen more often when people would travel and harvest food and material resources, said Vernon Brown, the Kitasu Resource Stewardship Manager in Klemtu. Most Western scientists do not believe that Sasquatch exist, in part because no bones, hair samples, or other conclusive biological evidence has been found. But Niesloss points out that bears are quite common, and despite his many years as a wilderness guide, he has never found a bear skeleton in the woods either. All the evidence of the Kitasu people need is the stories, and he no longer wastes time trying to prove Sasquatch existence. I know they're out there, he says. It's a real living creature to a lot of elders here, Brown tells Mental Floss. We're an oral culture. People don't waste time creating false stories. People don't have any reason to lie. Klemtu sits in the heart of British Columbia's Great Bear Rainforest, a 40,000 square mile expanse of intact temperate woods, the largest left in the world, and at the foot of the coast mountain range. Ancient glaciers shedded the coastline into a jumble of rocky islands and peninsulas, deep fjords, harbor whales, Steller's sea lions, sea otters, bull kelp forests, or bull kelp flows in the current and teems with marine life. Old growth conifer forests where the bare silver tips of red cedars poke up like giant toothpicks are home to grizzly, black, and rare spirit bears. According to the Kitasu, when the raven created the world, he made all of the black bears black. And when the Ice Age came, after the glaciers receded, the raven decided to make one of every 10 black bears white to remind the people the way things were in the past. Vast sections of the Great Bear Rainforest are protected from exploitation thanks to a historical 2016 agreement between First Nations, whose traditional territories encompass the area, and British Columbia's government. Indigenous communities continue to sustainably manage natural resources for conservation, food, social and ceremonial practices, and economic prosperity, as they have for millennia. We're lucky to have all the clam beds left. We're lucky to have Dungeness crab and decent hunting, Brown says. I think part of the reason why Sasquatch are so common here is because of the resources that are here. That's probably the same reason that we're here. Around Klemtu in the Great Bear Rainforest, the hairy hominids have it all. Lush stands of cedar, fir, and spruce to hide in, caves for shelter, soft cedar bark for nests, pristine waters that nourish salmon and herring, and untrammeled sandy beaches flush with shellfish. Around 1960, a journalist named John Williams Green arrived in Klemtu, and he had come from Harrison Hot Springs, a small town east of Vancouver, where 40 years earlier a local teacher had published one of the first recorded accounts of the hairy men of British Columbia, and said the local indigenous people called the creatures Sasquatch. Green and fellow investigator Bob Titmus were in Klemtu to find those hairy men in the flesh. For about a week, they stayed with Tommy Brown and then the head chief of the Kitasu Nation. Green found that the indigenous people all along the coast were quite familiar with the Sasquatch. A few minutes of casual conversation was all it ever took to find someone with an ape story to tell, Green wrote in his 1968 book, On the Track of the Sasquatch. But though they saw sets of large footprints and heard eyewitness stories, Green and Titmus never saw a wild man of Klemtu. It's probably the best area in the world for a chance meeting with the Sasquatch, Green wrote, but hopeless place to try to track one. That doesn't stop folks from trying. Les Stroud, best known for his television series Survivor Man, heard stories about a rash of Sasquatch sightings in Klemtu just a few years ago. Residents had seen them prowling around some homes and heard one knocking on trees by the river. After Vernon Brown and Doug Niesloss shared the community's oral histories, Stroud filmed an episode of Survivor Man at Klemtu Lake and Kitasau Hill, both reliable source sites for encounters. In the area, it's not just a couple of eyewitness references, Stroud tells Mental Floss. It's pretty much the entire village, and it's taken in stride by everyone, as well as being tied to their very ancient history. Vernon Brown, Tommy Brown's grandson, was Canada's second licensed indigenous bear guide after Niesloss. They co-founded the tourism outfit that grew into Spirit Bear Lodge, now an award-winning destination for wildlife viewing and cultural experiences. As part of those duties and his responsibilities as the nation's research stewardship manager, Brown started digging into the Kitasau cultural history and noticed how often Sasquatch lore turned up in the community's stories. The typical encounters in the stories, he says, involve tall, hairy creatures with black fingernails and dark eyes that walk on 2 feet. People often see them standing still on beaches or peeking out from the tree line. In our database, you can hear some of the elders doing their best to describe what they're looking at, Brown says. One man called it pukwis. He said it means you can hear him thinking about it in English. Oh, okay. It means ape, like an ape man. Down south, I think they call it Sasquatch. The Kitasau encounters with them emphasize respect. Bad luck comes to anyone who shoots or harms a Sasquatch, and the various places elders call where there are Sasquatches, are absolutely off limits. They say, no, don't go over there because that belongs to the Bagwis, Brown says. Even if people don't see them, they know Sasquatch are around by certain signs. One is the sound of tree knocks. When Sasquatch want to protect their territory, they'll also throw rocks as a warning when people are too close to their favorite clam or cockle beds. Another clue is their repulsive smell. I've smelled bears, and they stink, Brown says, but around Sasquatches, I've smelled something horrible, pungent. It'll stop you in your tracks, and then all of a sudden, he snaps his fingers. It's just gone. Sasquatch also scream in terrifying high-pitched tones. Niesloss remembers going on a clam harvesting trip with a group of other young people and a highly respected and knowledgeable elder. The low tide, the best time to gather clams, occurred in the middle of the night, so the elder pulled his boat up on the sand and the people fanned out across the beach. As they filled their buckets, those on the edge of the group heard a piercing scream in the distance, then another. But the elder, who was rather hard of hearing, seemed unfazed. Everyone in the community looked to him for guidance. When he seemed unconcerned, there was nothing to worry about. Well, they kept gathering clams. But the screams grew louder, and eventually the entire group was huddled around the boat. The elder asked why they weren't harvesting, and they told him about the shrieking. Well, I don't hear anything, he said. But then one wail, very close, punctured the stillness. Niesloss recalls he picked up a 5-pound lead cannonball, the boat's anchor, and started banging it on the side of the punt to scare it off. When he and the others saw their leader lose his cool, they immediately jumped in the boat and sped away. Despite the fright they can cause, Bagwis appear curious and shy. Brown mentions a man and 2 of his friends who went hunting for mountain goats in the mid-1990s in an area laced with massive fjords about 2 hours by boat north of Klemtu. This location with its sheer rock faces and sparse trees was known as a good spot to find the animals. When his 2 friends stayed in the boat, the man killed 4 goats, enough to feed his family for a while. He piled the animals on a narrow beach and then packed his gear into the boat for the trip home. He turned around to retrieve the goats, but stopped dead in his tracks. Standing next to the animals was a child Sasquatch, Umaje in the Kidasu language, just staring at the hunter with its black eyes. He jumped back in his boat really quick, and he said that whatever it was didn't run off. This thing was just looking, not running, just motionless. You could see it blinking every now and then, Brown says. It scared the hell out of him. Quickly, the hunter backed his boat off the sand, and he and his 2 stunned passengers turned their gaze back to the beach, and the Umaje was gone. The man left all his goats after spending money and time to hunt them on the beach where they lay. The man later told Brown that he's never gone back since. Wow. That's pretty amazing. That was a good article.
It was.
Yeah, I love all that history in there and hearing about the cultural references and stuff. I think that's so powerful. It's so powerful. But there you have it. If you want to see Sasquatch, you should probably go visit those people. Kitasu Bay.
Yeah, that's really cool that they really did add in all that history, because that's the stuff. And they were talking about in the chat. They were talking about, how Aboriginals of Australia, would pass things down orally, and how those things were discounted, kind of like we've done with the I would say the First Nations. A lot of the First Nations oral traditions. Yeah. It's not been written down, and as you've said, we get all that information and a lot about Bigfoot or the forest people, and it's really cool to be able to hear some of that coming back. But a lot of it's been lost, unfortunately, to ignorance. Yeah,
it really has. It really has. And again, that article came from menthalfloss.com. So definitely support that site. They did a good job on that article. It was written by Kat Long, K-A-T, and then last name is Long. So she did a great job. That's impressive. We do have a call. Are you ready for a call, Don?
Yep, let's hear it.
All right, this is area code 385. You're on the air.
Hi, Brent. Hi, Don.
Hi. How are you?
This is Belle.
This is, did you say Belle? Oh, Belle. How you doing, Belle? Sorry, I was like, wait a minute, Belle Prepper. How you doing?
Yep, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Oh, we're good. Are you enjoying the show?
I am.
Good. Okay.
I called in because I have a question, and it's a question that I posed earlier today.
Uh-huh.
I would like your thoughts and also the thoughts of chat on some of Sasquatch sightings possibly being residual energy, like a residual ghost.
Mm-hmm. Do you want my thoughts on that?
Yes.
Okay. I think it may be possible. I know it's been that theory's been used to try to understand how come they phase or disappear right in front of people. I know people have suspected that, well, maybe we're seeing their ghosts. And I think Carrie of Bigfoot Odyssey mentioned that as well. And I guess it's possible. I don't know. It's hard to know for sure, but I would just say we don't see ghosts of like bear that might have used to live in our areas, and like all around the country where bears were killed off and buffalo were killed off and things like that. And I'm not trying to say these are ghosts or these are animals per se, but I think that ghost sightings are incredibly rare, and I don't know. I guess I don't know what to think about it personally, to be honest with you, because it's hard to say. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible, but there must be a lot of sensitive people around then. And I know you're not saying that all of the sightings are spiritual. I think it's possible, but that's really a hard one to nail down. What are your thoughts, Don?
We just the other day we read a story about the scientist who had the vibrating rapier, and he was thinking that infrasound could resonate with the eye, your eye, and create ghosts. And we know that it's been postulated and it's been said that Sasquatch uses an infrasound to maybe hunt or dissuade people from, being in their area. And so if you combine the two ideas, could infrasound create a ghostly image of some type, whether it be a person or an animal or things like that? And having Sasquatch connected with infrasound, I'm just thinking here. I'm just, running through some thoughts in my head. But, if it's possible, what if they're using, what if Sasquatch, Bigfoot are using infrasound to project themselves, not necessarily ghost, but, project an image of themselves, or something that, like cloaking, cloaking, or displacement. Like you watch some of these old sci-fi shows where they're wearing this uniform, and this uniform can displace them, so it puts their image, 10 feet to the left or 10 feet to the right. What if something like that? I mean, I've just gone into the realm of, oh my gosh, but it's an interesting idea, hearkening back to that infrasound story you read the other day.
That's a good point. I guess I'm thinking it's possible, but I don't know. I guess I would like for every sighting to be the real thing. I really would, because that to me would represent that there are more of them out there than what is traditionally believed, and I'm encouraged by that. I like the idea that these things are everywhere and could be everywhere, but could they be? Sure, I guess it could be. I really don't have any definitive idea on it, because it's an unusual postulation. It's unusual, but I mean, we definitely have plenty of experiences with ghosts on the show, and covering ghost apparitions and manifestations. So, and there's also the fact that living people can leave residual imprints in houses even after they move out. As covered in the one story that we read a while back, where a pregnant woman lost her husband to the war, and she was leaning against the sink and crying all the time. Well, she later moved out, but that was where she'd always lean against the sink to cry, because that made her belly feel better, because it was full with this almost full-term baby. But they moved out, and the new owners of the house said that they keep seeing an apparition of this pregnant woman crying in the kitchen. Well, the woman was alive and well. So, imprints can be left. I guess it's possible. That's a great idea. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but those are my thoughts and Don's thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
Well,
it's just something that I thought about. So.
It's a great question. I think it's plausible. I wouldn't know which is which, like which is the apparition versus which is the physical manifestation. Of course, unless it does something physical and starts throwing stuff around, then I guess I'd be more prone to think that was a very physical and present Sasquatch. But in some of the other ones, where it could maybe account for some of the phasing that people notice, or that they just kind of disappear before their eyes. Maybe that is a projection or a manifestation. That's a good point. Great question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
bye, guys.
Have a great night. Thanks for calling.
Well, that certainly brought up a lot of questions about what supposedly, or what possibly, just more postulations to think about, and that might be an interesting one to bring up with Ron Moorhead at some point too.
Well, Ron kind of bumped into that a little bit when he talked about them possibly being, multidimensional and maybe, living in trees. He brought up, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, he's definitely on that page, and Bill, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch the episode with Ron Moorhead when he appeared on the portal. It was a great show, a lot of great in-depth discussion. But he touches on some of that stuff, and it's one of those things that I guess it's. I don't pretend to be able to say whether something exists or not. Anything is possible, but we are about to go to the break. Can you believe it? 1/2 hour to go, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get into more Sasquatch and cryptid stuff on the other side. So hang on to your seats. We'll be right back before you know it. right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going into the last half hour here. What an amazingly quick night it's been. Gone quick to you, Don?
Yeah, it's just kind of flown right out the window. You know, that's what happens when you enter the portal, though.
That's true. All kinds of weirdness happens in here. And then the show's fun, too.
That happens.
See what I did there? That's kind of funny. I thought that was kind of funny. And hello to everybody in the chats. Thank you guys for being here. It's always a pleasure to see the new faces and new names pop up. It's always a pleasure to see the familiar names and faces come up. But I got Newbie Doobie Doo just came in here. Newbie Doobie Doo.
And Relish Razor just came in, too.
Relish Razor came in. How's about that? It's about time he shows up, Just being.
I know he's absent for a while.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I guess he doesn't have time in his schedule.
Well.
He's a busy guy. He's a busy guy. That's how it rolls. But welcome everybody, and half hour left to go. So let's talk more big feet, or other cryptids. If you got other stuff to read, Don.
Let me read one. Let me read one that I pulled up because I got to get going. So after this, I'll get going, but because I got to make room for Paisley in the studio. So let me read this one. The Lurking Dog Man, a creepy encounter with an infamous creature. This is going to be pretty long, so I'll try to make it quick. Thick trees surrounded the property where 7-year-old Castilla met the strange dog, a dog with red glowing eyes, a dog that sometimes walks on 2 legs. Castilla lives in Romulus, Michigan, in a farmhouse with his mother, his uncle, and his mother's boyfriend. They raise chickens and rabbits, with farm cats roaming the crumbling old barn on the small acreage. But it was the woods that separated the house from the nearby major road, woods that kept the house and the family hidden, that marred Castilla's childhood. Those woods harbored something dark. We had this really strange dog creature that would hang around the property, Castilla said. I say dog creature because this thing was far too big and intelligent to be a stray dog. The dog was as big as a Great Dane, seemed to have the upper part of a German Shepherd and the lower part of a Doberman Pinscher. However, its eyes are what haunt Castilla. It's very pronounced red eyes, Castilla said. I'm not saying it was a werewolf or a dog man, but it was very werewolf-like. Everyone who lived in the house saw the beast. The dog would frequently stalk the edge of the woods on our property in the day. It seemed it had no fear. My uncle would yell at it or throw things at it to try to scare it off, but it would simply rear up on its hind legs like a ram and charge at him for a short distance. The dog never reached Castilla's uncle or anyone else who lived in the house. However, it did reach other things on the farm. We would frequently find dead chickens, rabbits after thunderstorms. We knew it must be the dog thing because it would leave huge paw prints in the mud and claw marks on the window ledges. The thing eventually turned its attention to the house. Sometimes we would find screens ripped from our screen doors and windows. It would never outright attack us, but it did seem to enjoy taunting us and harassing us. The taunting quickly became dangerous when the dog spoke. One summer night, my mom had left the window open in my bedroom to cool the room off so I could sleep. She was on her way to the bathroom and went by my room and heard me talking to someone. Stopping by her son's door well after his bedtime, she thought he was playing. She opened the bedroom door and turned on the lights and saw the dog. When she opened the door, she saw me standing in my bed, and I had apparently wet my pajamas. I was talking towards the window. I wasn't screaming or freaking out, but seemed to be transfixed and talking in a low voice towards the window. Castilla didn't notice his mother, nor did he notice the tungsten light that suddenly poured a yellow glow through the bedroom. His focus was on what was in the window. When she looked towards the window, the dog had its 2 front paws pushed through the screen and was looking through the window at us, making a low growl. Its eyes glared red. Castilla's mother threw a beer bottle that she carried at the beast's face. Startled it backed out the window. She slammed the window shut and closed the blinds. The dog thing's presence, however, was not gone. My mom told me that for about a week after that, I acted very strange, like the way kids acted in the movies The Shining. I would say things like, "We don't want you here. Our ghosts are food," or "God thinks you're bad." The house cats would run terrified when Castilla entered the room for that time of madness. That was the only thing wrong. That wasn't the only thing wrong, sorry. For some reason, I would take sewing needles or anything sharp I could find and prick my fingers until they would bleed, then finger paint all over the walls with the blood.
Oh, geez.
The house also had a very septic smell to it for a few days. Lights would burn out and pop. Weird things would just happen. 2 weeks after the dog tried to coax Costilla out of his room, it all stopped. My uncle was out back working on his truck when he saw the dog at the edge of the woods making its way towards the rabbit pen. At this point, he was tired of dealing with it and went into the house to get his .22. Apparently, he fired at it and hit it in the rear. The dog turned and ran into the woods. We didn't see it anymore after that, and everything cleared up. But the dog thing will forever be with him. I always recall its eyes. Costilla, now 40, you could see its eyes in the woods sometimes at night. I've had bad dreams about it from time to time. So there you go.
Wow. Oh, thanks, Titan.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Brendan, thanks for giving time, talent, and treasure to us. Much appreciated and much love back to you. Wow, that's really cool. Thank you so much.
I'm not too sure about the talent, but you're welcome.
Well, we're giving you what talent we have. That's, of course, it's on a curve of some sort, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah. More of a descent. Is that what you're saying, Doc? Right to the gutter.
There you go. Well, hey, buddy, I need to jump off because I got to make way for Paisley. But thanks for hanging in and let me Skype in tonight. I wasn't able to get there, and I do apologize for that. And say, everybody, see you later. We'll talk later.
All right, brother. Have a good night. Thanks again.
Yeah, no problem. We'll talk later.
Okay, see you now.
Bye.
So you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? That means it's just you and me for the remainder of the show. So I hope you're ready. I'll give you the best last 18 minutes I know how. And, God, that sounded all wrong. Oh, God, put that on the clip show, will you? Sounds like the story of my life. I better leave that alone or else we're not going to be family friendly anymore. Yikes. God. Yep. You ever just open your mouth and then things come out of it and you just wish to God you could just grab them back and stuff them back down? That was one of those lines that I would have loved to just snatch back. But anyway, you get me, unrehearsed, unfiltered, and just coming from the cuff. That's where I live, apparently. So I'm going to pull up some more information for you guys. And there was one here that I wanted to read. I don't think I got time for that one. Okay, so here's another article having to do with, let me minimize this and get this out of the way. I can put everything back where it was now because I had to make room for Don to be on the screen. Oh, wait, what is this? MCAT. Aw, thank you, brother. Have a night out. You deserve it. Wow. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. That really means the world to us. It means the world to us here on the show because, this is a labor of love, and sometimes love gets expensive. So that really helps out a bunch. Thank you guys so much. You both are amazing, and then everybody that's giving in any way you can. Of course, we don't expect it, but it sure is appreciated. It really does help. And you can help the show many ways just by subscribing if you're not already subscribed, liking the episodes, commenting on the episodes. If you ever go back and watch old ones, that really helps. It all increases the traffic, which increases YouTube's exposure of us because it starts triggering the algorithm. So it just means the world. Any way you can help, we appreciate it. But most of all, we just love you guys and thank you so much. My chat's not scrolling. There it goes. Okay, got it scrolling. Oh, that's cool. All right, so let me continue here. I've got to shift a couple more things here so I can read it better. Pop out. There we go. Boom. And all right. So this is an article I wanted to bring to you guys. This was one I had pulled up for last night's show, but didn't get to it. But this has to do with the Ozarks It's coming from Ozarks Public Radio, KSMU. So it's ksmu.org. And it's there's a group. Oh, thank you, Razor. You're wonderful. Thank you, brother. That means the world too. Thank you. You guys are so nice. But this group is tracking Bigfoot, shows 147 reports of sightings in Missouri. Now, I know there's reports coming out of Missouri, but I'm pretty intrigued that there's this many. Of course, Missouri's got a lot of different... Well, they got the Ozarks, of course, and the mountain ranges are plenty wooded. There's plenty of prime habitat for them, but let's read this and see what it says. It says, many call it a hoax. Others say they aren't sure if it's real. Some claim to have seen it with their own eyes. According to the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, there have been 147 reports of Bigfoot sightings in the state of Missouri alone. Cody, a student at Missouri State University who didn't want us to broadcast his last name, is one person who claims to have had an encounter with Bigfoot. On a late May night in 2012, Cody was with three friends who went to a game access area close to Smithville Lake in Clay County, Missouri. And late at night, with the windows in their Jeep cracked, Cody and his friends began to feel uneasy as everything around them became silent. I've seen bears, I've seen mountain lion, I've seen bobcat, Cody said. Even in the dead of night, checking game cameras in southern Arkansas and hearing a panther scream, I've never heard anything that quiet in my entire life. And if you listen to last night's show, I talked about the time I heard the forest just hold its breath. It was the creepiest feeling ever. Now, I'm not saying it was Sasquatch related, but it was creepy. As Cody and his friends were getting ready to leave, they spotted something in the distance that still haunts them to this day. About 20 yards off the front of the Jeep, there's something in the tall grass looking at us, Cody said. This grass is about 3 or 4 feet high, and it's a big thing with eyes like taillights just looking at us. In a panic, the driver drove through a small cable fence, pulling the cable's ties out, and Cody said they almost hit the creature. The thing then stood up, and it was at least 2 feet taller than the Jeep that we were sitting in, and I got within 15, 20 feet of it. Cody says he got a better look at the creature from that distance. It's just like what people say, Cody said. It looks like a person, but not like a person. It's kind of like a monkey, but with not like a monkey, or ape, rather. And then we just drove out of there. While many may be skeptical about stories like this one, there are people like Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization investigator Carter Bouchard who dedicate significant time interviewing witnesses and documenting their reports. Bouchard is one of the few hundred investigators on BFRO.net. Oh, thank you, Dead Spider. That's awesome. Card declined. I don't know what that means. But I hope, yeah, thank you. That's very sweet. Now in his 60s, he's based in Liberty, Missouri, and has studied Bigfoot sightings for the past several years. Bouchard has consulted on Animal Planet series Finding Bigfoot and has led over 100 private and nighttime investigations or expeditions. Throughout his tenure documenting Bigfoot sightings, Bouchard has come across many people who claim to have encountered such a creature. He says he's spoken to people who aren't being truthful, but also to people he believes are genuine. When you're talking to somebody, you can tell over the phone that there's no visual, that they are moved and possibly changed by what they saw, Bouchard says. And the detail they go into will match what other people have said. They don't know them, they aren't related to them, and quite possibly never even read their reports. So the odds of them making it up are not all that great. Bouchard says that the stigma around Bigfoot sightings has changed in the past 10 years or so, and that a true sighting is something that you can't take away from a witness. While there is a lot of speculation as to what Bigfoot really is, Bouchard says that there's a popular theory that is supported by DNA. The biggest theory right now going is that they're a Gigantopithecus that came over on the land bridge between Russia and Alaska at some point in time. Bouchard says nobody can confirm it. Nobody really knows what to say. But there are enough DNA and hair samples that are unknown hominid that can be pigeonholed into one thing or the other that tells us it's something in that hominid tree going back 50,000 to 100,000 years and maybe even further. Of course, the scientific community wants to see conclusive proof of a specific animal, something many people feel they haven't seen yet. Despite that, Bigfoot has stamped itself into one of the most famous cryptids in American history. The earliest recording sighting reportedly dates back to Leif Erikson in the year 986, according to Rick Emmer in his book Bigfoot Fact or Fiction. Leif Erikson and the Vikings who set foot on North America's soil described seeing a creature that was horribly ugly, swarthy, and with big black eyes. They called the creature Skellring. I thought that was debunked. I don't know. I thought I'd heard that that wasn't a factual account or that wasn't actually in Leif Erikson's writings. I don't know for sure, so I'm not saying yes or no, but it's interesting. It's quite interesting. Very cool. I hope you enjoyed that article. How much time do I got left? 9 minutes. I only got 9 minutes left, guys. This night is just flown by. Let me see. I don't have time for that one. We'll have to cover that one at a different time. I guess we can cover a couple of a couple of sighting reports. I'm waiting for my computer to catch up with me. And this one is, again, from Bigfoot Finder. We covered a couple of these last night. I found them very interesting because this is the BFRO.net is one site that people can go to record their sightings and have a chance to talk to one of the BFRO investigators and possibly have them visit to go over what you saw. But another site is Bigfoot Finder, and there's several. But this is BigfootFinder.com, and it's a great place to go if you want to check out some Bigfoot sightings in different regions and such, as is the BFRO, and as is, I'm sure there are others, but those are the only two I know the names of right off the top of my head. But it's a great chance to, see what people are experiencing, what they are claiming to have seen. And you can always pick up some gems from these, but this one is Yellowstone Bigfoot encountered near restrooms. This is submitted on, 9/07/2015. Location was Wyoming. Excuse me. I was taking a hike in Yellowstone National Park woods with my dog. She was a German Shepherd. During the hike, I felt like we were being watched, but there was no one around. My dog was acting strange too. You guys are killing me. And even Hundy for the night. Woo! Thank you guys. KJ, MCAT, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Says, I went to the bathrooms on the hike and I was there. My dog started barking a lot. I quickly hurried out, but she kept barking and then I saw it. This big, blurry figure from the other side of the trail. I was about 90 feet away, but I could make out it was bigger than a gorilla. It was about 8 feet tall, and its fur was blackish, brownish. Its fur was all matted and had stuff in it, and made this old moaning sound, and then walked or sprinted away. Oh, that's creepy. I wonder about that. I wonder about the fur thing, because I'll tell you, Bigfoot there's a lot of different Bigfoot sightings out there, obviously, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. But I find it interesting that some people will observe the hair that is just pristine, as if it's just been groomed. And then other people will report the hair full of junk and debris, and seem to be tangled and matted and with mud and stuff in it. And here's what I was thinking. Of course, snipers use ghillie suits. Now, Bigfoot's walking around with a natural ghillie suit all the time. So it's always going to not have a normal silhouette, and it's going to blend in really easily. And have you ever played airsoft or checked out snipers? When they blend in, they're not visible. they are trained to not be visible, and these people are expert at not being seen. Really, if there could be a sniper 5 feet away from you, and you wouldn't know it. They just are that good, and they do that. But one thing the snipers do with their ghillie suits is they will decorate it with plant matter and debris that is from the area that they are. And I got to thinking, well, if snipers are doing that to make themselves blend in better, was that possible that these Bigfoot are doing that as well, throwing mud and sticks and things onto their body that may help them blend even further in? Is it possible that they're doing that kind of problem solving or that kind of planning? And I think it is. I really do. I think that it makes sense to me because there's such variations in the appearance of them that people will see them just looking like hell. Like they're just full of sticks and twigs and leaves and dirt and mud and stuff. And then other people will see them and look like they just left a salon. Their hair is just perfectly combed and looks like it's, not combed necessarily, but it's perfectly groomed and it's not snaggy or shaggy or anything like that. So is it intentional? Are they decorating themselves to blend in even further with their surroundings? And I think it's honestly quite possible. I think it makes sense to me, complete sense to me. If these things are indeed as intelligent or nearly intelligent or more intelligent than us, then we don't have the market cornered on creative thinking. Other things do this as well. Hell, there's other animals, I'm sure, that I can't think of any right off but I'm thinking there's other animals that do hide themselves. Well, look at walking sticks and stuff like that. They've developed to look like a piece of the plant. How did they do that? How did those moths and butterflies develop wings that look like leaves? Did they go, hey, they probably wouldn't get eaten by birds if I had that for wings. Maybe I should develop that. And I find that incredibly, incredibly interesting because it really does make me think that there's a higher consciousness at work in some of this. But with the Bigfoot, I think they're plenty possible of thinking of it on their own. I think they could think, hey, if I put on this plant stuff, I'm going to be even harder to see. So, I don't know. Take it or leave it. My thoughts only. I don't pretend to know, obviously. Nobody knows. But is that possible? And I think it is. I think they could be decorating themselves to blend in. So, just some food for thought. Take it or leave it. What? This can't be right. I can't be reading this right. This one is from Jacob Blunt, January 4th, 2015, from West Virginia. It says, Bigfoot schools West Virginia gun owner in basketball. I don't know what that means. Me and my friend was playing basketball in my driveway, and we heard my hunting dog bark, and we look up, and we see an 8 feet tall creature standing in the wood line, and it started to come towards us, and it made a big roar, and it scared us, and it woke my son and my wife up, and then it came to the creek that splits my yard in two, and it's 5 feet wide, and he jumped over it, and then we got our pistols and started to shoot at it, but it did not hit him, and he ran back into the woods. That was their first encounter. Second encounter, on May 25th, 2015, me and my friends were playing basketball in my driveway. And it says, and then Bigfoot came over and roared at us. And then I shot, and it hit the rim and went towards him, and he picked it up and shot at the three-point line. Three-point line, and it swished, and and then he dunked it. And then he shook my hand with me and my friend, and Bigfoot keep playing, and it was 2-on-2, and my teammate was Bigfoot. This is a true story. I'm not lying. If you think it's all fake, you're dumb. Yeah, I'm betting that probably didn't happen. Now, you can look at these sites for claims, but you can't believe all the claims, obviously. And that's a great illustration of that. But apparently, Bigfoot can get some air and might do well in basketball. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that about brings us to the end of our show tonight. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I hope you enjoy all of our shows. Remember, tomorrow the new podcast will drop, so I hope you guys will check it out. You can find it on Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, chat box, etc., etc., etc. There's just dozens and dozens of those platforms that the Paranormal Portal podcast is on. I hope you will check it out. Please share it. If you like our show on a podcast, please leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening to. iTunes has one. I think Spotify might have some way to leave reviews, but leave us a good review. It'll help us a bunch. But definitely iTunes. Leave us a good iTunes review. If you don't like the show, never mind. Oh, that's going to about do it for us tonight. I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Stick around. Paisley Wild is coming up next with the Spaces Between. So check it out, TFR, or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/spacebetween. Love you guys. Good night.